Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Harris Bard for Pond Life Aquatics and Tropical Fish London. I'm an aquarist with over 20 years experience in keeping fish, and in today's video I am going to be doing something a little bit different for our stock update, where I am going to be showing you a plant unboxing from Aquafluer and then maybe showing off some new tanks we just got in from Superfish. Let's get into it. So we just got our Aquafluer wholesale plants in, and I figured it would be nice to go through and unbox them with you guys and talk through exactly what we've got, because we have some really nice new plants that we've never actually kept in stock before, and there's some stuff that I'm trying out, so it'll be really cool to get immediate reactions and be able to show you exactly what comes in and how it comes in. First impressions, this week's box is packed really nicely. We got our Elodea bunches that come in lovely. So yeah, exciting. Oh wow. So you can see the Elodea Densa has just come in absolutely beautifully. Elodea is endemic to pretty much every continent on the planet Earth except for Antarctica, and it is typically known as like oxygenating pondweed. We sell a hell of a lot of it here, particularly at this time of year where people want something to help populate their ponds, help oxygenate the water. So really great that this is coming well. Different than how they usually pack this. Oh man, that's cool. Wow. So the Echinodorus paviflorus. Echinodorus is Amazon sword. It's a super easy to keep stem plant, and just look at the size of this. It's absolutely stunning. Echinodorus can be grown both submerged and immerged. This is so I actually think this might have been grown submerged. It's really gorgeous. It's perfect for a lot of tropical tanks. It needs around 22 to 30 degrees centigrade, so it's actually perfect for something like a discus tank that needs that warm water. It gets quite tall. This, when fully grown, can get 70 centimeters, so like almost a meter tall. And if you just look at it, it's absolutely gorgeous. Oh wow. Yeah, this is going to look amazing in someone's tank. They're super easy to keep, so it's not limited to any kind of specific lighting or CO2 or fertilizer. Obviously, it's a plant. It will benefit from all these things. What a gorgeous plant. So next up is Egeria Najas, which is typically known as guppy grass. It is in the same family as Elodea. Again, super easy to keep. You find it a lot in Asia, you can find it in the Americas. It's become endemic to a lot of places because people have introduced it to the wild, so you do have to be careful when you dispose of it. But it's super easy to grow, really great for fry, hence why it's been called guppy grass over time. So yeah, people just keep this in their aquariums, particularly if they're not into growing particularly hard to grow stem planting. It's very similar to hornwort in that sense that pretty much anyone can just throw it in and it will do really well. So yeah, we got some lovely Egeria Najas in. Okay, so this is kind of cool. I saw something come up on the list that said Deco fish house Fascicularia. Fascicularia, for those who don't know, is Java moss, effectively. It's just a catch-all term for easy to grow moss, but it should be Java moss. And the Deco series, as you all know, I'm a really big fan of it. It's really just this lovely kind of cross between ornamentation and live planting. So this is the fish home, which is this really cool little hidey cave. Just so much moss on it. These look gorgeous. These have been tied on with fishing line, which isn't typical for the Deco series range. It's usually grown on, but obviously moss takes such a long time, and this is quite new in their series. And it's just such a cool idea. I can see this being really great for particularly things like loaches. Coolie loach would love this, or bitmamic loaches would absolutely adore this. Again, same with something like a Siamese fighting fish, giving them those hides to feel secure in, while just having this really lush, dense Java moss is going to be really great. So I'm going to get these into their tanks now, but I think these are going to be really popular. Okay, I know I've talked about the Deco series before and you guys don't need me to go over it, but there is quite a few new people here who don't know how much of a fan I am of Aquafluer's Deco series. These are just beautiful. I haven't been able to get the pipes in for a few weeks, and I'm so glad I have, because this is gorgeous. The Deco series, you just saw the new fish home, which is with Java moss on top of a little pipe. This is the Deco pipe. So it's an actual, I'll see if I can hold it up to the mic. It's an actual clay pipe with Anubias attached to the top of it, and it's just so gorgeous. We've had really great success with people saying that it's given their fish so much more confidence in their tanks, and I think it's such a wonderful thing to create and have in someone's aquariums. So yeah, we got this in, and we also got the Amphora in, which are the Roman pots. I really love these. They don't sell quite as quickly as like the Deco series that have the Anubias Barteris on them, because these are the petty Nano. But I feel like people who kind of know more what they're looking at in terms of Anubias really love these. The Anubias Petty Nano that are on them are really, really healthy and happy, and they're just great. They're great. I think people love them and appreciate the fact that they can have something that's a little bit different, a little bit more of a decoration, while also having some really gorgeously grown, healthy epiphytes in their tanks. And we've had these for a while now, and we find that they don't melt. You don't really get any issues with them. They're really, really quite excellent. So really happy that these are back in stock. Okay, I just went down into the box, and these are something that I wasn't sure about getting in. These are called Deco coconuts. So I wasn't sure. I was expecting, like, when you get Aquadip, you get actual coconut huts. Like, they're half coconuts with Java moss put on. But look at this. This is, again, part of the Deco series. So I should assume now, whenever we get Deco pieces, they are going to be clay, and this is no exception. This is their Deco coconut, so it's in the shape of a coconut heart, but actual clay piece, and it's so pretty. It's gorgeous. I'm very excited about this, as you can tell. I think these will be great for the Home 8. The Home 8 is this little shrimp tank, 8 liters, that you can have on your desktop, and I feel like something like this is going to be ideal for in there. So oh, wow. Oh, I got that on camera. Okay, so I thought I didn't think we'd got this in. Look at this. Oh my God. They're so cool. They're little mini Deco pipes. What are these? These are the shrimp flats with moss. I didn't order these. These must be a freebie, or they must be an add-on, because there's a few things that didn't come in. Look at this. Oh, I love it. Shrimp flat. So great idea. Little shrimp hidey holes with moss on top, so it looks pretty, in the Deco series range. So it's actual clay, it's not plastic. Look. Oh, wow. Oh, this is for the Home 8. This will be so perfect in the Home 8. Oh, I'm setting up a Home 8 for in-store. I'm having this in it. This is exactly what these are built for. Very exciting, very cool. I'm gonna put this in one of our shrimp tanks. For now, I'm just gonna put these up here, because I don't want them getting dry. I don't want them dying. They're just so nice. What a great idea. What a great idea for people who want a really simple setup, being able to have like a little shrimp hut. Excellent. Anyone from Aquafluer who watches this, thank you so much for taking on. We had a little issue with our order last time where some things were just mispacked ever so slightly, and we ended up with a load of crushed plants. This plant order is just exceptionally good. So thank you, Aquafluer. Really, really appreciate that. I'm not paid to say that. It's just really, really nice to get a really healthy and happy plant order in. Now this is something called Vallisneria. So this can get like 2 meters in length in the wild, and I've actually happily grown it to like 1.5 meters in aquariums before. It's excellent. If you struggle with growing stem planting in any way, shape or form, Vallis is the plant for you. It has a bit of a reputation online for people don't like it. It can get a bit of an issue in terms of how much it actually grows, but it's so hardy, so easy to propagate. I cannot recommend it more. If you want something that's a little bit reedy, something that looks kind of like seaweed, if you want a background plant that isn't as hard as, like, let's say some of your Eleocharises, Vallisneria is excellent. Vallisneria Giganthea. Now, if you want to see a plant that grows, this is it. One thing to say about Vallis, it sometimes doesn't do well with liquid CO2. It does amazingly with CO2 injection, as all plants do, and fertilizer is absolutely fine, but sometimes Vallis can melt with specific CO2 products. So if you aren't sure, check with your manufacturer who you've gone with if Vallisneria in particular will melt. But it's so easy to grow, it usually won't even need CO2. It's so easy to grow. Okay, so on to the potted plants, and again, just such a well-packed, lovely order. This is Limnophilia Heterophylla. So I've talked a lot about Sessiflora on this channel as being a really easy to grow plant. This, again, super easy to grow. I've been thinking about using Heterophylla for a Southeast Asian biome. So I'm thinking of the pearl gouramis that we've got in that tank back there. When I've set up a 45-litre scape in the store, I'm going to be using Limnophilia Heterophylla and possibly Sessiflora on the side it to try and create a Southeast Asian biome. Heterophylla is super easy to grow. It grows about 1/2 meter long at its longest. It can grow in pretty much any lighting conditioner, and it's just a gorgeous stem plant. If you want to get started with stem plants, it's something that you actually have to go into the soil with, unlike things like hornwort, Heterophylla, or any kind of Limnophilia. It really is going to be the job for you. I'm kind of excited about this plant, and I'm just going to take the label off for a second just so I can show you. This is called Ludwigia Palustris Mini Super Red, and it is an average growth plant. The Super Red is from the Super Red stems, and you will get some red foliage growth if you give it under the right conditions. It does need a decent amount of light and either a liquid or specific CO2 injection, but it is what I used at the background of the Superfish Scaper Cube that I set up in the Riverwood Aquatics workshop. I wanted to get this in to see how it comes in from Aquafluer, because I want people to be able to use this during the workshop that I'm going to be doing here at Pond Life Aquatics in Superfish London at the end of April. There'll be more details on that later on in the video, but it's such a gorgeous and delicate little plant. I thought it would be good for us to have something that is a little bit harder to grow, people in store who want to be using CO2 injection or other things like that. So that's what this is, Ludwigia Palustris Mini Super Red. Gorgeous mid/foreground plant. For something like a mini scaper cube, this is ideal for like your mid/background planting. Beautiful. Next up is a real favorite of ours in store, is the Micranthemum Monte Carlo. And I feel like this was kind of popularized online by people like The Green Machine, who are a really great channel, and they're a store up in Liverpool. I think they're still there. I haven't watched The Green Machine in a while, I'll admit, but they were like a real inspiration for me when I was younger. And this is such a gorgeous plant, right? Cool. Sorry about that, we just had a customer. So Micranthemum Monte Carlo, read a really interesting article about it in Tropica's website, where they described this in a way that I hadn't really thought about it, where they had said it's like Hemianthus clariticoides, I think that's how you pronounce it, or dwarf baby tears, so like quite high intensity light, needs CO2 injection. And I remember when I was younger, people used to think that about Micranthemum Monte Carlo, and I now realize that's probably because it was a misidentification. People were selling dwarf baby tears as Micranthemum Monte Carlo, because Micranthemum Monte Carlo is really quite easy to grow. Obviously, you're not going to get a dense carpet without high lighting, CO2, fertilizer, but as just a really lovely little foreground plant, I think Monte Carlo is definitely one of the nicest options you can go for in aquariums. So yeah, we've got plenty of Monte Carlo and really great. I'm going to be encouraging people to use this in their aquascapes, particularly for the nanoscapes that we're going to be setting up in the workshop. It's one of my favorite plants. Absolutely stunning. So next up is a plant I'm really quite excited to have in, and it's a bit cheeky of me to get it because it means that someone's going to have to get CO2 injection to use it. But this is Ludwigia Glandulosa, which I think is one of the prettiest plants ever. You can keep it without CO2 injection as long as you supplement with liquid CO2 and you have a good light. However, just such a beautiful background plant. It does get about 1/2 meter long, and you do have to be quite vigilant with pruning it to make sure that you don't get really twiggy bottom ends, which is the key to a lot of like Ludwigia and Altonanthera. It's a plant that I've never actually kept myself, and I'm going to be setting up Escape with it later on in the next couple of weeks. So if this doesn't sell, it's going in Escape of mine. I'm really excited by it. I think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous stem plant. And as with all Ludwigia, you do have these really interesting, almost like red, pinky, purpley colors on it. And it's just a really gorgeous bit step up in terms of what we usually keep here at Pond Life Aquatics and Tropical Fish London. But if you're in for a bit of a challenge, this is the plant for you. Okay, Aquafluer are just always top of the game with this. Anubias Barteri Nano. Again, something that I probably don't need to talk about on this channel, but I can gush about epiphytes for hours and hours and hours, because I do think the aquascaping community kind of gets obsessed with stem plants, where really, if you grow out and take the time to use epiphytes in the way that they can be used, I think an Anubias, particularly something like this specimen, could be so special in any aquarium. I'm toying with the idea. Again, I'm going to be setting up a aquascaping shelf in store where we'll have loads of little aquascapes where people can take them home, and it's just a good example of what aquascaping is to people, because we do have aquascapes in store, but I want to be more of an aquascaping store realistically in future. I saw something at Pat's a couple of years ago where they literally just had hardscape on a tiny little bed of sand with just epiphytes. And I'm going to try and replicate that on a more miniature scale here. Loads of boost, loads of Java fern, loads of Anubias, and loads of moss. And I think I can make something really, really special. I'm going to try and find some inspiration in terms of visuals. I'm going to probably look back on a few photos from a trip I made to LA and just a road trip across America last year, where I went to the redwood forest, and it was absolute inspiration to me. Jedediah Redwoods, if you are ever in Northern California, is one of the single most beautiful places I've ever been to on planet Earth. And there was so much amazing landscape where you would literally have massive rocks with a river running through the center, and then these giant sequoia redwoods. So I feel like taking inspiration from that, trying to recreate something along those lines using just wood and epiphytes alongside some really nice little pebbles, maybe those honeycomb pebbles I showed last week. If you're more interested in aquascaping, again, I just made a video on that earlier this week, so check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. Another amazing plant. So we have 3 different kinds of Hydrocotyle in the store now. We've got Hydrocotyle Tripartita, which is this really gorgeous little delicate foreground / mid-ground plant, which you can grow in several different ways, where you can either force it back down into the ground and it will carp it out, or Tripartita can be left to grow outwards and can get bushy and wild and cool. Vulgaris is much more dense and green and a little bit harder to grow than other Hydrocotyle species. Now we've got Hydrocotyle Verticulata, which I feel like is a gorgeous mid-ground to those 2 different Hydrocotals that we have in store. Again, this is something that I'm going to be encouraging people to use in the Aquascaping Workshop, because I feel like it's such an amazing, amazing plant. It's one of those plants that can be, again, forced down into the substrate, where you can see that it's got all of these little root shoots off from where it's been really grown into this filter flask, which again, props to Aquafluer for such amazingly grown plants. This can be trained in various different ways in an aquarium. It isn't going to stick around long, because the last time we got this in stock, it sold in about a minute. So gorgeous, gorgeous mid / background plant here. And the final plant, it's a semi-newcomer. This is the 2nd or 3rd time we've had it in, and it's really, really popular. Liliopus Novae-Zelandiae, and it's this amazing foreground plant. And again, just Aquafluer being so professional, you can actually see where there's moss, actual moss, growing on the rock wall that these have been planted into, which just means they've been really left to grow, which I love. I hate it when you get plants in that are obviously just cutting, shoved into rock wall. This has been left to grow in a greenhouse for ages, so it's super healthy, super happy, and it's this amazing foreground plant. Again, going to be using it in a few aquascapes coming up soon. I highly recommend it to people with really quite beginner tanks. Most of the Superfish range, definitely the Flex, definitely some of the Dual range will happily grow this with only liquid CO2 as an addition and good fertilizer, obviously, and a good substrate, and it'll happily grow. I'm growing it at home in my shrimp cave, and it's taking a long time to carp it out, but I'm not injecting that with anything anymore. I'm just using a liquid CO2, not even fertilizing it, just using a Oase escaper soil capped with some sand, and this is doing really, really well. So I'm going to start encouraging people to keep this a lot more, particularly if they want to get into aquascaping and they don't want to have the trouble of planting something like Eliocaris, Cicularis, or Micranthemum, Carlo. I feel like Lidiopas Novae-Zelandiae is just this really great midpoint of stem plant that's easy to plant because it is just these long runs. You can bunch it up rather than having to do individual stems, and it's just great. Really, really, really great. So that's it for the plant order this week. I hope you guys don't mind me trying this unboxing style video. I thought it would be quite interesting to see how things come directly out of the packaging from a company like Aquafluer. I am going to get the rest of the dry goods order in now, and maybe I'll show you some of the tanks that we got in, and potentially I'll show you the new rack that I'm going to be setting up over the course of the next few weeks. For even if today just ends up being this unboxing, I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be getting a fish order in next week. If you are interested in what fish we usually have in, then check that out in our last week's tour video. I don't want to keep hitting the same drum of we do things differently at Pond Life Aquatics, but we do, and we really do care about our fish and plants and everything, so we don't restock as much as, let's say, your commercial stores will, where they'll just shove new fish into tanks to try and get attention. We keep fish the way that we would like to keep fish. We aren't going to just shove fish into already overstocked tanks. It's just not what we do here. Sorry if you are looking forward to seeing a stock update in terms of fish this week, but I hope you've enjoyed this kind of plant unboxing video, and I'll show you some of the cool tanks that we get in as well. I'll talk through them, and I'll finish up this video in just a second. I announced in the last video that I put out earlier this week that the tickets for the Aquascaping Workshop are on sale now. The 25-litre cubes that we're going to be using in the workshop are out of stock, but I wanted to get the next size in up, because if this workshop goes well, I was wondering if it would be feasible to do slightly larger aquariums, like 45 or 60. I got one of each of the scape lines in, and oh my god, they're so cool. This is the 45. I think 45 might be the biggest that we can do that people can reasonably take home again afterwards. They are such nice aquariums. 45 litres, so 45 centimetres by 32 by 32. So great size with hang on back filter, really amazing light. When I was a kid, that would cost so much money. This one, take home with a back filter, fertilizer, CO2, like it's self-leveling mat. They're $94.99, which is insane. Like, obviously it means if we do these for a workshop, the price point that I'm currently doing the workshop at will have to be slightly more expensive, probably about £50 more expensive once you account for the amount of gear that you're going to have to use in an aquarium this size. What an amazing value tank, really great. And then we also got the size up, which is an additional 15 litres. So this is the Scaper 60, and this comes in a cube size as well. And again, might be a little bit too hefty for a workshop setting, but 50 centimeters by 35 by 35, so good size aquarium, half a meter, and it's £110 for a really, really good light, hang on back filter, fertilizer, CO2, not CO2 injector, but liquid CO2 still. And it's such good value for money. I'm really excited by these. I'm hoping that I can fit that 60 or the 45 on the top shelf in our stock room, because I think it will be so cool to have like a proper scape that people can see and enjoy. Obviously there's going to be a big scaped tank, which I'm super excited to do, but having something smaller that's more attainable for people to be able to achieve is obviously going to be something that can only be beneficial. Now, on the more budget side of things, in terms of tanks, maybe not the most ideal thing for a scaped aquarium, but this is a Tropical Start 30 by Superfish. And again, this comes with a heater, filter, biostart, dechlorinator, net, thermometer, everything, with not the best light in the world, 40 PAR, so you're realistically going to be looking at epiphytes and cryptocorin if you want to grow something in an aquarium like that, unless you supplement with an additional light. For all of that, $59.99, which is just incredible. Like you can, with literally a bag of sand, just put some sand down, have a piece of hardscape, maybe something like the Centurion wood that I showed off last week, really heavily plant that up. And you can have an aquascape that doesn't need like crazy aquascaping lighting ready at home for like 150 quid, which is pretty insane. If you guys like hearing me talk about new products, then let me know, because I love gushing about things that we get in. I genuinely find this exciting. It's not something that I get to talk about with many of my friends. I've got one friend who we just talk about fish and everything like that endlessly, but I love talking about aquascaping gear and fish tank gear and fish in general. So if you guys like hearing about that, just tell me in the comments below and I will do more things like this. And that's everything from me here at Pond Life Aquatics. I know this is a little bit different and it's not going to be something that we do all too regularly, because I know I don't want to alienate people who come here just to see the fish. But I feel like it was interesting for me to be able to show you guys exactly how plants come out of the box when we get them here at Pond Life Aquatics in Superfish London, and it kind of shows how well we take care of our plants here. We supplement with fertilizer and CO2 regularly. We regularly water change our plants. We make sure that the plants that came in 3 weeks ago still look as healthy as the plants that came in this week. We will be getting a fish order in next week. I don't want to bang the drum too much that we do things differently here at Pond Life Aquatics, but we don't get fish orders in if we don't have the space for them. I know a lot of retailers will just get new things in to keep things fresh and keep things going. We don't want to do that. If we do have a couple of empty tanks that we could have got 2 or 3 fish in, we can't just base an entire order around a couple of empty tanks when we have to meet a minimum order and then we end up with overstocking and we can't keep the fish where we want them. There will be a fish update next week, but for now I hope you guys have enjoyed this plant unboxing from Aquafluer and me showing off the new tanks that we just got, and hopefully I'll be able to show you guys at some point the new rack that's going to have Nano aquariums on them aquascaped in store, and that will be its own entire series, and we'll be able to see how it like sells and develops, and new scapes that or maybe I'll get someone else in store to do some scapes and I'll film it and talk with them as they do it and what inspiration and how they come up with it. If you love plants as much as I do, or you love aquascaping and you haven't seen the last video I put out, I announced that the tickets for my workshop on aquascaping are available now for the end of April. We've already sold a couple of tickets, so if you do want to come act fast, we are going to be scaping a Superfish Scaper Cube 25. We are going to be having a mixture of different substrates, so you can either choose to be using a neutral base with a sand cap, or you can just use an all-in-one soil. I'm going to have loads of hardscape, all plants as healthy as the ones you see. I'm going to be getting specific orders in of plants that I think are suitable for a Scaper Cube 25. I'm going to have different images of inspiration that you guys can use, or you can just bring your own and enjoy the process. But tickets for that are on sale now. 1,000 subscriber giveaway. I will be finishing that up in the next couple of weeks. The entries are now closed. I just need to go through and make sure I've got everyone's names, and then I'll be contacting the winners individually and I'll be sending them out their prizes. But for now, that's everything from me here at Pond Life Aquatics in Tropical Fish London, and I hope you'll join me again next time for this Pond Life.